I'm Vance Bastian here with my co-host S.A. Baz Collins for this week's Written on the Edge Season 9, Episode 31 interview. We'll be talking with Chris Kim and discussing her book, Shaman of Heaven and Hell. So, let's get to know our guest. Once Chris Kim earned her MA in Applied Linguistics, she was left wondering, what now? A desire for self-renewal led her to accepting a university teaching position in Daegu, South Korea. While there, she gained a new cultural perspective, particularly when she married into the Kim family. Her father-in-law gifted her with the name Kim Sujeong, translated as crystal, or as her husband tells her, white quartz. After 6 years, she returned to the Tampa Bay area with her family and now teaches English to immigrants. Welcome to the show.
Well, thank you so much. I'm happy to be here.
So, how badly did I massacre that Korean name?
Daegu and Sujeong.
Okay,
Yeah,
Okay,
Sujeong, you did great.
awesome. So, linguistics and teaching is a far cry from the grind of writing a book. Where did that passion come from?
Oh, okay. So, when I was young, like in my early 20s, I didn't know what I wanted to be when I grew up. And so, as you do, I procrastinated and I enrolled in grad school, trying to figure it out.
That's an
And I
expensive
changed majors.
procrastinate.
Um, And so I had changed majors a few times and I was talking to someone. And at the time it was, I want to travel the world. Um, and I think I want to go to Asia. And someone said, hey, did you know you can get paid to teach and travel? And I'm like, okay, sign me up. So that was applied linguistics. That's the program I went into.
Hmm.
And after I graduated, the university I taught at actually has a partnership with Youngnam University in Daegu. And so that's how that came about. Yeah, and I was there for 6 years, and then eventually came back to Tampa. And now I'm teaching at a small technical college where I teach to immigrants.
Nice. An ESL
Um,
program?
yes,
Nice. That's actually where I got my professional start too.
really.
Not Tampa, but ESL, yeah.
Oh, very cool. Very cool. I love it.
So, so, Shaman of Heaven and Hell. If I were to see it like on a table at a Pride event, what would you tell me about it?
Okay, so about the book.
Yeah.
Um, so when I describe the genre, LGBTQ. It's a paranormal thriller, but it's very dark. It's a very dark book, but kind of there's hope at the end
With a
of it,
light
and it
title like that.
right, yeah. I thought it was aptly named.
Right. One of those stories that
um,
sort of names itself.
yeah, well, and it is heaven and hell. It's kind of like the balance between that hope we all carry inside us, but
Hmm.
it has to find its way through a lot of the darkness that
Right.
can really crush a person. And it's told through the point of view of two young men who have very different experiences um, with their inner darkness and how that comes out.
And without spoiling it, how much of that can you share? Like what starts them on their path of growth and renewal?
So they both have these traumatic incidences when they're or incidents when they're younger. And in Adrian's case, our hero of the story, it's when he's very young and he witnesses this very violent murder of his parents, and that kind of stays with him. And it's also something that springs out of his mother's involvement as a Korean shaman as well, which he's also been gifted with that same gift. So he carries that. He's also very introverted, socially awkward. So he carries that trauma with him and internalizes it,
Hmm.
and just kind of like shies away from other people because he doesn't want that to basically infect other people, I guess you could say.
Hmm.
And then Bram is kind of like his opposite. He's very extroverted. He's considered like a charming, charismatic person. And he is assaulted as a teenager, someone he had trusted. And it's not just that, but it's also how his parents react to it. Because his parents are very conservative Christian people. They're worried about how this will look in their social circles, the church. So it's basically like, don't talk about it. You need to hide it. So he has no way to really work through it. And his reaction is basically to cling to people. Um, and he doesn't really know how to have a healthy relationship as a result.
And somehow they find each other.
So the meeting is considered
No, they're
kind of like
completely apart in different cities. They don't know it.
It could be a mirror
and then just
story.
magically, yeah, like
Yeah,
they're
well, there you
magnetized
go.
from one side
Yeah.
of the world to the other. I guess you could say it's like it's kind of a fate, it's kind of like fate. Um, because they're both kind of like how can I describe it? Adrian is someone who carries this kind of energy, uh, the heaven and hell aspect, which is not like religious heaven and hell. It's more the darkness and the lightness, that
Right.
Okay.
energy
Mhm.
that is carried through that.
Right.
Uh, and it's an outward expression where Bram is considered a conduit, where he does not actually have energy of his own, but he's kind of like he channels it, if that makes sense.
Hmm.
Yeah, I follow.
It, yeah, and so it's kind of like they're just drawn to each other, but at the same time as they're drawn to each other, because of who they are, uh, you know, because of their trauma and how they have reacted to it in completely different ways, they also kind of like repel each other in a way.
Hmm.
So the story is
Hmm.
kind of like this: one person's chasing, like Bram's chasing, Adrian's like running away, and it takes a while for them to kind of meet in the middle.
And again, trying to avoid spoilers, but do they help each other heal from the trauma? Their individual
Oh,
traumas?
yes, absolutely. Yes. And I
Yeah.
can't say much more than
Okay. So let me try a different approach then. How much of Korean mysticism does the reader have to know going into this?
I did my best to explain as well as I can because I am no expert by any means. Um, and so when I wrote Adrian, he's Korean American and he was born in the US. And that was also kind of like for me too a buffer,
Hmm.
because I didn't want to write a character who's already an expert. Like we're both learning as we're going.
Uh-huh.
Yeah. And so I tried to write it as someone who's also learning about himself as he goes. He's learning about his mother and this it's basically Korean shamanism, which is actually matriarchal in nature.
Hmm.
Okay.
Um, yeah, and so it's actually a spiritual practice that predates organized religion. And this has been around for a long time, and organized religion's really what had kind of shoved it to the side.
Hmm.
Okay.
As it's wont to do.
Right.
Yes, well, thankfully it's had a resurgence in Korea. Um, but sidebar.
No, no worries.
Yeah.
Okay, sorry. Um, I lost my train of thought.
It's okay. My cat decided to do a photo bomb, so
I see the ears.
Oh,
she's like, "What are you
hey,
doing?"
can I talk to your cat?
There's
Oh my
Taki.
goodness. What's she or he?
She. It's
What's
her name is Takus, which is Mohawk for cat. So we call her Taki for short. So every time we see the chips, we're going, "Oh, where's our cat? Why aren't we making that money, girl?"
just like a she should be a good luck charm.
Yeah.
I lost my place on what I
Let's
was talking
back up
about.
to it being matriarchal and organized religion pushing it away, but it's coming back.
Uh-huh. Okay.
And
Um,
sidebar.
okay. So, because it has traced back. It kind of like reaches Adrian, um, and sorry.
It's okay.
It's okay.
No
I'm
worries.
trying to tie it into the book, right? That's
Right.
what you
Well,
Sure.
want.
let me ask a question that may help you do that.
Okay.
So, does he have a mentor, or does he just sort of stumble through the dark and figure it out?
Ah, okay. Yes. Okay, I can continue with that. All right. Oh, do you
On sidebar.
Yep.
All right. So, because he doesn't have that background, he is an introvert. He is socially awkward, but he does have a friend, and his friend is Bohi, who is a library ghost. He works at a library. He meets Bohi, and she was a Korean exchange student at the university. She was murdered actually on the top floor, and that's why she's trapped there, but he befriends her and he visits her often. And so he has a journal that his mother kept. It's all written in Korean. He doesn't read Korean. He speaks it very little. So he'll bring it to her, and she's kind of his guide through this.
Okay.
She is able to help translate it and give him an idea of who he is and what he is capable of doing.
Very cool.
Yeah, and I'll say, having being someone who, because I'm native but I didn't grow up on the reservation, my dad did. When I wrote my book talking about our people, yeah, I fully empathize with your plight in that it's often hard to expose or give readers an opportunity to immerse themselves in a culture they may not be familiar with. And I want to know, did you struggle like I did in how much to put in the story as the world building and how much to hold back? Because you can fall into a rabbit hole where it becomes
Oh yeah,
almost like a dissertation of a culture, and you
sure.
really don't want that in a fictional story. You want it to be solid narrative that exposes the reader to a new culture. But I mean, when you have things like Harry Potter, we know what witches and wizards are. We know what dragons are. Those are all pretty much like part of the lexicon in Western world. However, when you deal with cultures that are not as well known, it's a struggle for an author to impart that. And I kind of want to know what your journey was with that. How did you find the balance?
There was a lot of editing for sure.
The machete came out.
It had to, and I did have readers who and I would ask them, does this make sense? Or is this too much? And so they would go through, because yes, I would have this, because I'm passionate. I'm passionate
Right.
about
Absolutely. Absolutely.
and but it, like you said, it can take away from the story itself. Yeah, you want to give it color, you want to give it a vibrancy,
Right.
you want to give it history, uh, but you also don't want to confuse your reader
Right.
and hit them over the head with it.
Right.
Hmm.
Right. Exactly. Exactly.
Yep.
And often with those cultural issues, it's something that you have to find that, and I'm kind of putting this out there for our writers who may be listening and watching, but um, I think part of the problem is that you have so much to impart, but as an author, you have to hone that line to what will serve the story, but not
Mm.
in a way that will leave readers confused or feeling like they didn't get enough on the plate for them to understand what you're talking about. So it is, and sensitivity readers from the community, it's definitely a way to do that. But sometimes as a writer, you have a story you want to tell, but you don't quite always have that community to fall back on. And I don't know. I'm just gonna tell you how I felt about it, and then I want to see your reaction to it. I think as an author, when you're trying to do something from a culture that isn't either your own or that is not as well known, I think in a way you kind of become an ambassador to that culture. And it's something that you have to be mindful of in crafting your character. And I think you using Adrian, as a Korean American, I think that was a brilliant stroke for you because it takes the pressure off you. But at the same time, his discovery becomes the reader's discovery. So, and I think that your ghost librarian or ghost, that spiritual entity is a nice craft touch because it gives the reader a way to learn that is connected to the story. So do you kind of feel like, how do you feel you did as an author? Are you really, really happy with the way it turned out and that the journey was worth it? I'm like I said, I'm doing this for our writers in our audience who may be contemplating, because we always try to encourage them. It's not just write what you know, but explore, to try being a crafter. I mean, Anne Rice wasn't a vampire as much as we think, but she wrote about it. So, kind of how do you feel about your journey in doing that? And do you think it was worthy enough to encourage other writers to step into worlds they may not fully know?
Oh, I certainly hope it would encourage others. And I think it's really about, first of all, finding something you're passionate about
Mm-hmm.
and you're willing to learn more, and then to learn it in a way that's also respectful. And I think it did help me that I had people I could go to, I had a
Mm-hmm.
community I could go to. But, even if I think someone doesn't have that, um, of course, we have so many resources now
Right.
that we can access, just to make sure, am I doing justice to what it is I want to share, and then also the way we convey it. Um, like I said, I didn't want to come across, because I'm not an expert,
Mm-hmm.
but someone who is just like the character, a student,
Right.
and I thought that really that was the best way to approach it.
Nice.
Excellent. Yeah.
All right, Chris, is there anything about the novel that you want folks to know that we didn't think to ask?
I would just say that it is very dark. And I was asked about that. I had, a couple people, well, a few people who had asked, like, why is it so dark? It's a brutal story in many aspects. And I felt like it had to be,
Mhm.
because for me personally, I did feel I was using some of my own background and what I had to work through. And I thought, if I have to work through this, then other people have to work through it. And it was kind of like
Mm-hmm.
through that, that I was able to kind of, um, face all of that. And it was a cathartic process. And I would hope that would be the case for anyone who read it. It would
Nice.
give them a chance to work through their own demons, I guess.
Yeah, I think that that's something that a lot of people, when you say it's dark, a lot of people go, oh, maybe but part of the thing is, I think as humans, we kind of secretly, maybe not something we voice, but I think we all like a cathartic journey because it shows human resiliency and human um, endeavor to always try to strive for something better or some greater meaning or understanding. And I think that when you do something like this, kudos to you for not holding back,
Mm-hmm.
because if it had to be what it had to be, those are the books that ring the truest, because the passion is there, the heart is there, and the story has to be. And that's not always an easy thing for authors to accept. Is sometimes they'll think, oh, well, maybe this won't sell if I do this, and this. I think your readers will go there if it's done with heart, if it's done with compassion. Plus, I also want to add in here just briefly, and I want your comment on this before we go on to the next segment. Um, how do you feel when, um, how do I word this? When you have readers who come up to you, have you had readers come up to you that have read your book and have commented on that journey and how it made them feel, and did it meet your hopes for that kind of a novel?
Well, in terms of the darkness, when I've had that comment, and if they said that, or this made me uncomfortable, or I found this very creepy, and I took that as the highest compliment.
Yeah,
Like,
because you got something out of them.
Exactly. Like, yeah, oh, that was exactly what I was going for. Thank you.
You did
But
good,
if they're
girl.
not finished, yeah, if they're not finished, I'm like, just hang in there. Okay, just hang
Yeah,
in there.
excellent. Love
Perfect.
that.
Well, are you ready for our get to know you questions?
Sure.
Take it away, Baz.
All right. In this year of diving deeper, what is your favorite snack or drink while you're creating?
Okay, so step by step. Okay, the first thing I do in the morning, because I'm a very early riser, like about 4 a.m., I make either
Oh,
coffee or usually
that's my
green
bedtime.
tea. But so I'll make coffee, green tea. I have to light a candle. I have to put my earbuds in and play ambient music. And then I like chug caffeine while I'm writing.
Oh, if that's what works, that's what
Yep.
works. All right. What books did you read growing up?
Um, so I was gonna say Stephen King because I was like in sixth grade when I started reading Stephen King. But in a more innocent time, The Wizard of Oz and all the subsequent novels by Frankelbaum, and I was obsessed with the series.
Huh.
Looking forward to the Wicked movie.
Oh my goodness, that was so good. The book was so
All right. Who has been the biggest supporter of your work?
Um, I mean, my friends have been there. They've been the ones who have been honest with me and giving me that feedback. And when I'm ready to just throw it away, no, you can do this. So yeah, absolutely.
All right.
Awesome.
Excellent. All right. Are you a morning person or a night owl? I think we know.
Yeah.
Yeah, 4 a.m.
T- total morning. Some morning, it's still dark out. All right. Did publishing a book change the way you see yourself?
Yes and no. I guess the yes of it is just to realize I can actually do this. So if I can do this one time, I can do this a second. So yeah, that I finally have that belief in myself.
All right. Um, if you were to write a spin-off about a side character in your novel, who would it be?
So two characters actually, I would pair them together. So first is the library ghost, Bo He. And then one of the characters that Bram and Adrian meet is what I would call a romantic fangirl named Regan.
Hmm.
And so, yeah, I would write a book about Regan and Bo He and, whatever they get up to.
Okay. All right. Fair enough. Well, what's your favorite hobby when you're not writing or creating?
Hmm. I mean, reading, you
Right.
know,
Okay.
yeah, listening to music. My family, I actually like to edit videos and create videos.
Oh, there you go.
Not edit, not often, but yeah,
Yeah, still. All right. Um, let's see. Have you traveled as research for your books?
the opposite, actually.
Inspired by?
She came home. All
Yeah, it
right.
was living in Korea that gave
That
me
actually spurned it. Okay. All right.
Yep.
So, how do you celebrate when you finish a book?
I didn't really celebrate so much as just started planning the next one.
Yeah,
'Cause,
that's what
yeah,
a
it
lot
was
of
just
authors.
like,
Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
it's like on to the next.
You've got your muses, and they've got a schedule you know nothing about.
What's the next one? Okay, let's get to it.
Right. Exactly. Well, you made it through the list. Bravo.
Bravo. So you just teased us with a next one. Do you have any inklings yet that you can share with people?
For another book.
Hmm.
Yeah.
So actually, aside from that, the one I'm actually writing right now is a standalone. Um, it's kind of have you seen The Boys by any
Hmm.
chance?
Hmm.
Hmm.
Yeah, it was kind of like that in a way. Superheroes who work for an agency, but it really follows this one agent named Ian Nam who actually has no memories prior to when he was hired by the agency.
Hmm.
So it's kind of like him. They're going after this kind of like terrorist cell, a domestic terrorist cell, and then as he's going through this and trying to track it down, his memories are starting to little by little come back to him as well.
Nice.
Interesting. Interest peaked.
All right. Any other announcements or like appearances you want people to know about?
Not at the moment, though. I am hoping to get the book into more bookstores around Florida. That's kind of like my next goal.
Good luck.
Thank you.
Out of curiosity, have you had any problems yet? Florida tends to be a hot spot of, oh, we can't put that on the shelf.
It's made me nervous
Uh-huh.
because I actually live in a very conservative area. There are conservative people within my circle, and that can be uncomfortable. It can be very uncomfortable. So one store that I was able to who took in my book, actually, I had to drive an hour, but I knew they were LGBTQ friendly.
Mhm.
So I knew that hour drive would be totally worth it.
Right.
And that, yeah, it's just, you know, having to, I have to basically leave this area to find, um, the right kind of places to share the book.
Mhm. Fingers crossed. There's hope in the air. Go vote, everybody. That's all I'll say.
Yeah, yeah.
Vote,
Vote
vote,
like
vote.
your life depends on it, because this time it
Even in
really
Florida,
does.
my vote counts. So
Yeah,
Yes, it does. Well,
that
I
part.
mean that I hate to say that that's why I joke about living in Wisconsin sometimes, but that's one of the reasons we stay is because our vote here really matters.
absolutely,
Unlike me in
yes.
California, where whatever. We vote, but still it's like we know the outcome already.
All right, Chris, any final words of wisdom?
Oh, where's the best place for people to find you?
Oh, yeah, I'm so sorry. Website, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube.
Oh yeah, yeah. I am on Instagram, Kiss Kim Writer or Chris Kim Writer. I can say that right, Chris Kim Writer. I have a Facebook, um, YouTube. I have a website. It's all Chris Kim Writer, and so I'm hoping to. I was active, and life circumstances came along the way, and I'm gonna get back into it and yeah, just put myself out
Perfect.
there.
So that's
Perfect.
that's the best places for people to go if they want to find out what you're doing next.
Absolutely.
Okay.
Perfect. Any final words of wisdom?
All I can say is when it comes to writing, it can get frustrating is not even close to how it can feel. But I would say, you have to push through it. You have to push through it, because if you don't, that book never happens.
Right.
So yeah, you just have to push through it.
Nice.
There you go.
All right, we'd like to extend a huge thank you to Chris Kim for joining us. Chris, thank you so very much.
Thank you.
Our pleasure. We at Written on the Edge are proud to introduce you to new media by queer content creators. So if you enjoy learning about new artists or hearing our thoughts on entertainment media, please like and subscribe so you get the alerts for new episodes. The show is produced by Rogue Ravens Media. For our disclaimers, links to social media, our listen stations, or to sign up as a guest, visit www.rotepodcast.com. Tune in next week for your queer media fix.
Bye-bye now.
Oh, what's that? Closing time. The bums rush in Melody, dear.